In 5, 4, 3, 5, 4. Okay, we are live. I hope. This is my second live stream. Greetings out there in internet land. I'm upgrading from last week where I was showing you stuff on my iPad next to my face because I just wanted to get back into live streaming in the smoothest way possible and not use any fancy stuff. And now we're using fancy stuff. So you can't see it, but I'm looking at the dashboard of OBS so I can do interesting things, which, yeah, I might not do for you in this moment, but in the near future, I'll be bringing on a special guest via the internet, of course, because that's how we're all communicating these days, except for those folks in our own homes. Yeah, so special guest coming, and going to show you some special things. The topic of the live stream today, I want a cooler name. I want something in between like workshop and educational. I don't know what to call it, so throw your ideas out there if you have them. And make sure the chat is happening too. Hello, all you in chat land. And hopefully have some folks tuning in soon. Yeah, I'm also streaming this one from my artist page instead of my personal page. I don't really use my Facebook artist page that much because Facebook is so great at making it useless unless you pay to advertise on it, and I like to spend my advertising dollars elsewhere, to be honest. I don't think it's very effective for promoting what I do. So yeah, but I think it is a smoother way to do this kind of thing, public events as this is. So that's what it is. How are y'all doing out there? I don't know if you're here yet, but that's what I'd love to know. Some friends of mine love to talk about days, like, okay, I'm on day 15. I don't know what day I'm on. I know in San Francisco we've had the shelter-in-place / stay-at-home order for roughly 2 weeks, and my household is keeping it pretty locked down. So, yeah, I do go outside once a day, but wear a mask for the protection of all, and I'm really careful about all kinds of sanitary things. I hope you are too. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe and happy. And regarding the happy part, that was the live stream I did last week, this Thursday last week. Was about healthy work-at-home habits. So I think that's a really good one to go back and watch if you're working at home. Maybe it's something you don't do often. Maybe it's something you're doing for the first time. Who knows? I've been doing it like my whole life. So I collected a whole bunch of best practices and ran through them all in a 45-minute live stream I did last Thursday. So that one's really good. I would put that up on YouTube and other video presenting locations as I plan to do this. And also mention that this is part of a series of live streams, and I'll throw a link up to that series in the chat as well, because you should know, and they're going to get better and more interesting and involve more tech if you're into that kind of thing. The longer we do this thing, right? We're all getting good. That's encouraging. We're developing skills and getting better. I am live now. So this is a link to the event series, or live stream series, let's call it. Run that up. And yes, we are live. I think it's likely I have a much smaller audience because much like with anything I do on my artist page, it just has less organic reach than my personal page. You know, even if you have like 20,000 likes or whatever, or follows on your artist page on Facebook, it's still really hard to get people to see the content that you post there without spending ad dollars. So it might be saying there's somebody, a wonderful person in the chat saying something about 22 minutes ago. I did a test video 22 minutes ago, so maybe it's referencing the test we did. But yeah, this is live. We're 5 minutes into this live stream about circuit board artwork. And I think I might start talking about the actual topic here, because we have at least one person viewing. Where's my statistics? Shouldn't it like tell me like who's watching, how many people? I don't think so. Maybe we'll try YouTube next week, because I'm not impressed by Facebook streaming lately. Anyways, not gonna get down on that. Right. So we are talking about circuit board artwork. So what the heck is that? So my debut album came out in 2009. Geez, 11 years ago. That is a long time ago. And it was extremely unique, not in the fact that it was on a CD, but in the fact that I chose to go to the next level with CD artwork and design printed circuit boards in the size and shape of CDs that could hold the CD on it, that fit in a CD jewel case. I'm trying to remember the demo I did on YouTube famously that went viral. And then it's actually a musical instrument. It's got this little red button here that turns on the circuit and it makes a sound. It's a little quiet because it's got a teeny tiny little speaker, but hold that up to the mic. It's got 2 light sensors. Oh, hey, we can plug it in. Got a little aux jack here. It's a lot more interesting when you plug it in. Yeah, I bet you can hear that. So yeah, I called it a light theremin because it's not actually a theremin. A theremin is something you control. It's very famous. It's like the first electronic musical instrument invented by Leon Theremin around the turn of 20th century, and you played the instrument by moving your hand or other body parts next to these 2 antennas, one to control volume and one to control pitch. And it works on the capacitance of your body, right? So how close you get to these antennas that have really high voltage or something. I haven't dealt with circuits like that, but people know it's a thing you wave around your hands and it goes, and so it's got that understanding. And so by calling this a light theremin, I mean, this isn't like, I don't know, whatever, a real instrument. It was never marketed and sold by RCA, what theremin was. But calling it a light theremin, it's because it reacts to light, not capacitance. And it's kind of like a theremin that you can wave your hands around in front of it and it changes the sound. So anyways, this was incredibly successful. Not because of the 10,000 hours I spent producing the music, but because of the novelty and innovativeness of this concept of why not make circuit boards as CD artwork. And big shout out to Jojo Martin, aka Jojo the Clown, who helped me learn how to make circuit boards. Really didn't know what I was doing. Still don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm getting better all the time. And at the later in this live stream, I will show you really quickly how to make your own circuit board really quickly in a piece of practically free software that you can download, and you can get your own circuit boards printed with whatever things on them you want. So I'm going to keep the chat open here. Good, we are live. It is happening. So some of the things I did is some of it's functional. You can see, and we'll talk about that later. There's holes that these components, legs have to go through. So there's obviously some functional things, and normally there's these little traces, these lines that are copper, metal, that carry electricity through the circuit. But then there's all this other space, like the space under the CD, all this space on the backside. None of this is part of the functional circuit. So I was like, well, what can you do with that? And so I put a maze. There's a super delicate maze on there, and that's actually the graphic on the CD is the solution to the maze, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. The solution exposes all this symbology that's part of the maze, like a flower, like a golden ratio spiral, like a fractal, copyright. And on the back, I did my own font and kind of a stylized circuit-looking way to list the tracks. So that's semi-beautiful and semi-functional. So anyways, this was my entry point into circuit board artwork, and as to my knowledge, it wasn't like a big thing, and there weren't tons of people doing stuff like this. And that's part of why this was so novel and was such a successful project for me. So yeah, but in the time since, that has changed, and loads of people are making stuff that looks even cooler than this, things that blend form and function, kind of like this does, and all kinds of things. So our special guest Alex Glow will be coming on shortly to show you some of what's going on in the wider community of circuit board artwork. But I'm just going to show you a couple more things. Apologies if the stream is spotty. My internet connection is not super awesome today. You have that CD, Rob, and you are awesome for it. Thank you for supporting. Actually, a lot of people have this CD. That's the kind of success I was talking about. But yes, I'm glad. Anyway, I just want to show you really quick the other things I did. I made a USB version of that light theremin. This is like a tiny little pocket-sized USB one with even smaller components. And there's a bunch of extra content on that USB drive. This one's not so artworkish, but it is small, and it is a USB drive, which is kind of a more modern form of media. And my most recent album, 4-track, I did this, which I call the Voice Crusher, and I didn't want to make another CD. I think USB drive is more relevant, but I wanted it to look like something music related as opposed to just like, you know, you can make it look like whatever, so I wanted to make it look like a cassette. So it is indeed a circuit board, but it fits in a cassette case. Aesthetically, it looks like a cassette, even though it's obviously not. It's a printed circuit board. It is black in color. You can get circuit boards printed in all kinds of colors. And it has, in fact, a USB drive built into it, a little switchblade USB drive. And then all this circuitry, like on the light theremin, it's all functional. This is a much more complex circuit. It's got a microphone, a little amp. It's got a pitch shifter, and it's got an input and an output. And it's it pitch shifts your voice, crushes your voice, crush. I am the voice crusher. So that one is really fun for processing your voice or whatever else you plug into this, like your mobile phone or whatever. So this was a successful repeating of the experiments of the light theremin, and who knows, maybe I'll do another one. I'm doing some other little easy things. Here's one that's just like a little mini cassette with some LEDs on it, and a pin. So it's just 4 LEDs, a switch, a battery, and a pin. So it's a little wearable, you know, wearable piece of merch. I used to make t-shirts, and geez, it's such a pain to bring t-shirts to shows. But these things are so easy, and they're so much more popular. So that's why I went with pins, LED pins. And this is more like what I'll be able to show you guys how to make in the latter portion of the live stream today. Maybe not a graphic as complicated as this, but actually you can import graphics into these programs. You can draw whatever you want, and it's extremely easy and cheap when you get over a few little technical hurdles to get something like this made of your own design. So that's what we'll be exploring at the end. And I think that's most of what I wanted to say about my circuit board artwork. I'm just going to show a few more things, and then we'll bring on our special guest to show us even cooler things. There are other music-making people who've done this kind of thing. So around the same time my Light Theremin CD came out, Tristan Parrish, an artist who was in New York, probably still in New York. People who've been in New York as long as he has tend to stay there. It's a little bit dusty. He did this. This doesn't actually involve a circuit board at all. But he used the CD form factor, and he actually programmed a chip to make really lo-fi music. It's called the 1-bit symphony, and so there's a little integrated circuit, a little mini, very, very simple computer in there that has the memory of all the music, and there's a little button to turn it on, a volume knob, an output jack, and it just plays the album in this with this super lo-fi sound. This is a very recent album, or maybe a few years old, by a good friend of mine, Captain Credible, who's an artist in Norway. And this is a lot like my instruments in that it's, you know, kind of aesthetic on one side and functional on the other. I love that he went for QR code, so there's no USB drive, there's no media actually here, but the QR code contains a link to the music, so you can download it, which is very convenient. And this one contains an instrument that you can't hear without plugging it in, I believe. Oh yeah, it's senses when it's plugged in. So he is kind of like a mix between, kind of like halfway between a light theremin and the 1-bit symphony. So this has music programmed into its little integrated circuit there. It's got a couple of buttons to kind of like advance through different modes, and I think the other one changes what's happening in that mode. And then it's got a light sensor. This little orange thing is a photoresistor, the same component that's on my light theremin. So that's kind of a fun, expressive way to interact with the sounds. I want to play some more sounds from Fantasy Mansion. This is Captain Credible Fantasy Mansion you're hearing. So anyways, this is an awesome design. Super impressed. This artist makes all kinds of amazing stuff too. Check out Captain Credible. This was kind of upsetting to me because I was like, oh no, somebody did something in the cassette form factor and they released it before I released my cassette looking thing. And this is a really impressive thing called Mixtape Alpha. This one's actually like a lot more functional. Like it does looping, it has a sequencer built in. It uses these touch sensors, which are a little bit funky but super cool. And this is by a friend of mine who's teaching at MIT and does all kinds of brilliant stuff. But this is a more advanced design and comes with a whole like instruction manual. It's Mixtape Alpha, and it's really its own beast. And it's not an album. I kind of have coined the term playable packaging for the things I'm making, where the packaging is some kind of interactive thing that you can play. And so I don't know if this counts as playable packaging because I don't know if it's an album. This is really like a synthesizer, sequencer, looping kind of thing, which is super cool. And last but not least, it's not even artwork, but this is a good segue to our next guest. This is the one and only badge I have from a hacker camp I went to. Actually been there twice in the Netherlands. And there's this amazing culture of people who typically identify as hackers, who are doing crazy stuff like this in all different mediums, not just electronics, but also, computing, coding, internet, security, baking, what have you. Just, making cool stuff. That's kind of the hacker community. So one thing that's become popular in that community is making badges. This has loops here. This is actually a wearable thing you wear around your neck, like the badges you get at a convention. But this one's got like a super beefy lithium-ion battery and a whole, is that a slot? Memory slot? Yeah, it's got a memory card slot, and it looks like a really beefy processor, and then it's got a whole e-ink display, which is frozen now because it doesn't register anymore. Doesn't turn on anymore. But anyways, I've seen collections of these things, and they're really impressive, and this is one of many little subgenres in the whole circuit board artwork landscape that exists now. And before I bring on my special guest, I just want to plug one thing, which is that I'm going to be doing a soldering workshop. I just created and organized the event and made tickets and explained all the things you need because, because you got to do all that stuff if you're going to do what I'm doing, which is I'm going to teach people how to solder in a live stream like this on April 23rd. It was going to be the 16th. I pushed it back to the 23rd, and that's because you can order, if you get a ticket to the event, I'll send you a kit with all the components to make one of these. This is actually the second edition of this Light Theremin CD. This is the one that's easy to put together yourself. And as you can see, it doesn't have that many components. And you can put it all together in less than 2 hours, even if you've never soldered before. And you're going to need to acquire some tools like a soldering iron, but I have links for where to get those things. And soldering is a really fun thing. It's kind of like, I've never done knitting, but I imagine it's like knitting, where you just kind of sit and you do a thing with your hands. It takes skill. It's a little bit repetitive, but it's fun and kind of peaceful, and it's nice to work with my hands when I'm been doing all this, computing. I spend so much time in front of the computer today. I think it's very healthy. So I'm going to throw a link to the Light Theremin Ooh, spelling. Soldering workshop on April 23rd. So, just throwing that in the chat. If you have any questions, hit me up. Grant Bouvier, what's up? One Bit Symphony is one of your all-time favorites. Me too. The music on One Bit Symphony is actually fantastic. And I love that the last track on this is like an infinite generative thing that never ends and is never the same twice. I love that kind of stuff, like thinking outside the box with what you can do with these unusual mediums for releasing music and other arty things besides music. Brian Roberts, yes, modding controllers. I'm glad you're into it. I'm into modding controllers. We should probably do a live stream on modding and building controllers of some kind. But yes, this is the circuit board artwork live stream if you're just joining us. And we're going to get to showing you how to make your own circuit board with a relatively simple process. We can do it, I think, in 15-20 minutes. But before we get to that, I'm going to bring on my special guest. Hopefully, she's still there. I'm going to turn up the volume, and we're going to switch. Now we're going to see if my... yeah, we can hear you. And guests view. Welcome, Alex Glow, to the live stream.
Hey,
How
what's
are you?
up? I'm not bad. I am sheltering in place. I've got a couple lunch boxes full of things that I brought, and I'm gonna prop you up on one of them right now so that we can actually. Whoa, there we go. Cool. All right, yeah. What's up? I brought not a ton of art PCBs with me because they're not great for like long-term entertainment in isolation. But I do have something. Oh boy! I brought a bunch of PCB rulers because these are like. I mean, I brought them for my job, which is like streaming about electronics on Hackster.io, and I thought I'd do a show at some point about PCB rulers. So you can see these are sort of like not incredibly artistic, but they are pretty cool. They're very useful in terms of like, they're very functional, I would say, because they show you sort of what the different sizes of chips are and like what the different settings are. You can see the different gauges of holes and stuff. This one has different thicknesses of lines, which is something to consider if you actually want to make functional ones. And then this is just a pretty one made by Evil Mad Scientist. And it's very basic. I feel like something I should say is when you're designing a PCB, you basically have four main layers to think about. You might be going to go into this, no? Yeah?
Briefly. I won't even get into like, yeah. Well, no, that'd be great. If you want to mention.
Cool, yeah.
Layers, right?
So,
top,
like,
bottom, copper, solder mask. We're not gonna give too many terms because like don't want to scare people away.
But just really basically, the inside of this thing, the actual physical structure of it is made of this bare stuff you can see here, which is FR1 or FR4. It's like fiberglass impregnated with resin, so it's rigid. And then on top of that, you'll have a copper layer, which is whatever shiny stuff you're going to solder to make the electronic connections. On top of that, you have a solder mask, which in this case is matte black. And that basically covers everything that isn't supposed to be soldered to so that it's much easier. Actually, a couple of these don't have any solder mask at all. These are just like, oh no, yeah, here, the solder mask is blue on this one. And typically that's going to be the main color you see on a PCB is the solder mask layer. And then you also see some white text and stuff, and that's the silk screen layer. That's usually used for just labeling stuff. But also it has a huge impact on your art. And also that tends to be the most high resolution layer when you talk to manufacturers. So if you want something with a lot of detail, you probably want to put it in the silk screen layer.
So, if I can interrupt, just to reframe that for those of you who may have never been in this realm before,
there we go.
And to summarize, like there's basically like a sandwich. Like these things are printed, and that's important to realize. And that's one of the cool things is like anything you can draw and have printed like by an inkjet printer, you could draw and have printed in a similar process that makes these circuit boards. And basically, you have that inner layer of like fiberglass, and you have layers of copper. And then you potentially have the colored layer, the mask, which can cover the copper or not cover the copper, and then you have the silkscreen, that white layer, where you usually have like text and
I didn't even notice that maze when I looked at your light theremin before. That's so cool.
Easter eggs, they're all over. all over the place.
I mean, it's labeled right there, so but it kind of is though.
But
For
who reads
oblivious people like
Silkstream?
me, it's an Easter egg. I thought I'd share some of my favorite types of PCB artists, I guess. So Andrew Soa is an artist out of Chicago, and he's done a bunch of PCB art in KiCad, which is a free and open source PCB design framework. He did this little double-sided coin with me on it. Also, a cool portrait of Senator Ron Wyden. Bunch of cool stuff. He did a PCB art workshop with us that you can find. So that's using KiCad. And for hobbyists, usually they'll use KiCad or Eagle. And so we also have one on doing PCB art in Eagle from my friend Brad Goffrop. And that's what you're using, right?
I'm using Eagle, yes. I'm interested in switching to other things, but Eagle got bought by AutoCAD, and I use this other piece of AutoCAD software, and there's a long story there.
Like
And now it's
Eagle's
in
good if
Fusion.
you want to integrate it with 3D prints, for example, because it integrates with Fusion 360. But yeah. So Andrew So is really cool. One of my favorite PCB artists ever is Boldport, who really kind of introduced me to the genre, and he's been around longer than most of the other PCB art fabbers that you see. He even created his own software called PCB Mod Eve to enable incredible designs like this, where you've got like meshing the sort of silk screen and solder mask and copper layers. Really interesting, wild stuff. And he plays around with how the copper is underneath the colored layer. All the light green you see here is because there's that silver copper layer underneath the green surface layer, and then these beautiful solder mask designs. Oh, so good. And finally, Nick Pissarro, I think, makes some really beautiful things. He's been playing around with masks lately, but you can see like this little guy on fire. This is one of my faves. It is a blank white PCB, but there's a copper layer on the other side that obstructs the view of these LEDs that are mounted on the back side. So you get this beautiful diffuse view of this skull burning. It's fantastic. He also used that effect on this blinky heart, which hopefully is there a picture of that? Blinky heart, where are you? Anyway, look up Nick Pissarro. He does some really, really gorgeous art. We've got a video I did of soldering one of Boldport's beautiful PCBs. This is my favorite one, the Monarch. And I'm going to scroll to the end where we actually test it out because it has this gorgeous system of where the LEDs are mounted on the bottom, the way that I did it, so that they sort of glance off of the table there and shine through the wings. And it's just this PCB is split in half and joined again using little lengths of the cutoff legs from the LEDs and PCBs. So those flat little wires that you see in the middle there are actually cut off ends from some of the other components. And so you really sort of use everything, which I think is fantastic. So there's this whole, there's this whole culture around badge art which is sort of known as Badge Life. It has gotten much more popular around DEF CON, the security conference that typically happens in Vegas in August. And at first, my friend, oh my goodness, what's his name? He goes like Kingpin, Joe Grand, started designing these electronic badges for the conference. And now it's become this whole subculture and really sort of nurtured the genre. I feel like a jerk face just saying it like that. It's so pretentious. He's really nurtured the genre of PCB badge art. But
I mean, it's amazing stuff. I saw that collection that was at, where were we in the fall? We were at Hackers Conference, like this original old school hacker thing. And there was somebody who had two people who had huge displays, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've never seen so many innovative wearable PCB things in one place.
So many badges, yeah, and DEF CON was a huge locus of it. Any hacker camp you'll go to these days often will have one. So there's one that I missed recently because of the quarantine, Open Hardware Summit, and they're doing like a little wearable one. Last year's Chaos Communication Camp in Germany, they had a little wrist wearable that had a little screen on it and like a heartbeat sensor and a bunch of programmable LEDs. It's a really full-featured device. I should bring that up, actually. Cardio CC. It's a gorgeous and really functional piece of hardware that I love. Well, I'm not going to dick around on here looking for pictures. Here's another one of my faves. This is from Teardown. I think it was 2018. It's a little design that they just played around with the gold coating on there, which is the solderable layer, and a gold ink coating on the copper layer, and then a matte black surface on top. And that like combination of matte black and gold and white silkscreen, like this ruler, I just love the look of it. It's my favorite thing ever. And so that's another fun thing to think about is like, do you want your PCB to be glossy? Do you want it to be matte? Do you like what kind of colors are available from which manufacturers? One of the best manufacturers that I really like is Osh Park. They are based in Oregon, and they
Oshpark. We're gonna plug them later when we make a PCB because they have this super
sweet.
fast turnaround and really inexpensive. But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Please go on.
No, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like just blazing through here because without listening to you really. But
No, that's great. I mean, I don't know how to host a talk show or whatever would be happening here in a more professional realm. And
usually it's just me like speaking into the ether, so I'm just like, I'm gonna do my thing.
That's right. Yes, you should know. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to.
What?
No, I think you should go to
I'm
the,
trying to make space. I'm being
Infinity.
like, I'm not used to this. I should be talking to you more. Anyway,
No. I should explain to people that
so Osh
yes,
Park, they have this like
Yeah, go ahead.
signature purple, gold, and white combination look that's really gorgeous and makes anything you make with them look really nice. Oh my god, the old haircut. No. Okay, we're gonna leave that page alone. There's another cool system called a pad printer that you can use to add color to a PCB after the fact. This is a PCB by Brian Benchoff. He took the Tindy, it's like a maker website organization thing, took their logo and made like 4 of their little doggy and turned them into the KISS members, and then used this little pad printer to put a tongue on one of them and stuff. I guess that would be the Gene Simmons one, huh?
What's it printing with? What's the material that it puts down?
I'm not sure what type of ink it is. It's some kind of ink. Cool. Oh yeah, shitty add-ons are worth mentioning. So you can design a full-sized badge that does all this like fancy stuff and whatever. But what if you're a novice, or you just want to make something small? You can make a shitty add-on. It just has 4 pins, or there's a new version that has 6 pins that attaches to an existing badge if it has the connector, and will take power from that. And you can often make them in much simpler circuits and sort of stick it on top of other things. So for example, there's a Mr. Robot badge. Do I have a picture of that? Anyway, and somebody, so you know the logo from Mr. Robot, and someone made a little sunglasses one that goes on top of that. So this is a shitty add-on that I made, and you can go find this tutorial designing a shitty add-on in KiCad. But also, somebody else made this like shitty add-on connector for his fingernail. He like covered his fingernail in copper and like soldered a little 4-pin header down and like attached a little Hypnotoad shitty add-on to it. Fantastic. Oh, this was Andrew Stowe again.
It's commitment there.
Brave man. I would not solder to my fingernail. It sounds extremely painful. But yeah, you can if you want.
I don't know how to attach copper to my fingernail. It must be copper tape. That would be the easy way.
Yeah, I think it's copper tape. Could be wrong.
That's safe. Maybe he soldered it before he stuck it on there. Who knows?
He did not. I know for a fact that he soldered it on what was attached to him because he's a mad lad. Oops, wow. Wrong thing.
Dedication.
Anyway, that's about all the links I have. I did a thing on your light theremin, but you already talked about that. Oh yeah, if you want to see more of these, you can check out my friend Daniel Oberhaus's article about badge life on Motherboard. There's all kinds of other places. I think on Hackster we also have a section for badge love. Badge life, badge love, there's varying names for it. You can see all kinds of different cool designs. And also I did a feature video on a bunch of PCB art that I got the last DEF CON last year. There's all kinds of ones. This blue sword thing here is
Mhm.
uh, a holder for 3 shitty add-ons at a time. This Nuka-Cola one is like a reference to Fallout, and it's also a bottle opener. You know, the way that it works, you know, your mileage may vary, but at the end, do I talk about the giant? Where's the giant cat one? We have a giant cat one. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is a truly ridiculous. It's like 1 foot square. I think this one was made by Scotty
Oh,
of Strange Parts. I could be wrong. I think it's by him. But it's like Business Cat. But it's
business cat.
PSVR. And it's, oh yeah, you don't know about Business Cat? Oh my. There's a couple different Business Cats, I think. This one looks like Grumpy up in a business suit, actually. I wish I had it at greater distance. Oh, I do. There we go.
That's one of the larger printed circuit boards I think I would have ever seen. Like that's like
Yeah,
mother.
it's
Oh,
huge.
geez, that's huge. It's like bigger than a
It's
motherboard.
massive. I have seen one potentially larger one, which was a somebody at DEF CON had this massive, absolutely massive, like popcorn badge for some reason. It just looked like a carton of popcorn, and then they had like a smaller one as a shitty add-on that stuck onto it. I'm not sure what the point was with that one, but it was one of the definitely. This one is not designed to be wearable, right? It's just like a big slab, and you put it on your wall or whatever. The popcorn one, for some reason, people were like wearing it around. I don't understand the allure of having a ton of badges around your neck, so I'm still trying to figure out other ways to wear PCBs. I have, for example, this. Oh no! Did it? Oh no! It got destroyed. Ah, they're kind of fragile. Another way of making PCBs is to mill them on a desktop mill, such as the Phantom desktop PCB mill, and with that fiberglass layer with a layer of copper on top of it. And
And just to
by
explain to
taking,
people, a mill is a thing that's gonna like remove material. So you could have like a layer of
yeah,
continuous copper, and then something, a little desktop mill, like a small thing, went and
it's
removed
sort of like a
copper.
computer controlled drill that moves around in 2 dimensions so that it can remove material. I guess technically three, but like, yeah, it'll sort of like remove a track. And that's how you can create these little traces for connecting components. You just sort of mill out the space between them. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, one of my LEDs here has detached. But this is like a device to your face to prevent sadness. There's more info about that on the internet. But yeah, I would say if you want to see more of this stuff, go check out that article on Motherboard. Go check out the video. Um, and also you can have a look through my Instagram. I got a bunch of PCB stuff on there. And I think Moldskin, you can put the link up or whatever.
Yeah, let me throw it up. I'm gonna try and throw it up in video. Um,
Cool.
but link to your Twitter or Instagram or all the above or
Sure, both. It's the same username, so whatever's clever.
okay. I think it's Alex Flow, right?
Yep. Oh wait, no, the username is Glowaski, because Glow is short for my Polishness, and then people didn't know how to pronounce it, so before I just shortened it to Glow, I connected it to the word ASCII because people know sort of what ASCII text is and how to say it, and that's how you say my name.
I like it.
Glowaski, you got it?
I'm working on
It
it.
looks like this. I'm just gonna put it on the screen real quick. It looks like this.
That
I'm gonna
works.
self plug here. It's a little confusing, but you'll find it. Or you can just look for Alex Glow. And follow Moldover because he's got some. Well, I guess you already are if you're seeing this video. Sweet.
Follow. Yes, I hope you're all following me. You're probably not following me everywhere, but hey,
I feel
look.
like I
Okay,
am.
successfully created text spontaneously. So that's Alex on Twitter, and
Cool.
I'm sure you can find Instagram from there. Awesome. Can you put the? I'm so not hip with controlling Zoom while I'm controlling this broadcasting software. Can you put both our faces back on, or do I
Oh,
have
I
to
thought
do
they
that?
were.
No, I think I
I think
muted
you have
mine.
to do that.
I think I have to do that. I can do that.
I have no insight into what it
Uh,
looks like for you over there. If I tried to pull
yeah.
up the stream, it would kill my computer.
Well, I'm just gonna switch. It's much easier to switch between my face and your face than have us both simultaneously. But yeah,
You know
thank
what
you so much.
automatically does that?
What does?
It
Oh, I know,
automatically
but
switches. Okay.
I have by default Zoom is like opening in a different desktop, and it's not
Oh,
working with
whoa.
this
Okay,
broadcasting
cool.
software. So yeah,
Well,
tech life.
just fun. You got any questions or anything?
Yeah, if anybody in the chat has any questions, that'd be awesome. I questions for you are, oh, about the software because I did my own research. Like I learned to do PCB design in EagleCAD. EagleCAD is this like historically, popular piece of software that goes back decades and decades, right? So like before all this stuff was happening, and in my opinion, it's really poorly designed, even though it changed ownership like 5 years ago and it's been improved in some ways. I can't say it's awesome. And so at one point I was ready to jump ship and start using a different piece of software, and I thought KiCad was what I was going to start using. But then they got picked up by this other company that makes this other software I use, and I was like, oh, it's going to
All
integrate with this
right.
other software, and so
Right.
I
No.
kept
Yeah.
using Eagle, never learned to use
Oh.
KiCad. Have you tried
Right.
any other softwares for creating printed circuit boards, and do you like or not like
Yeah,
any of
I'd
them?
say Eagle and KiCad are about equal in terms of difficulty. If you really want to jump into it, I have recommendations for learning each of those. So for for KiCad, I would recommend Contextual Electronics, aka Chris Gamble, has this Getting to Blinky guide. This is not about making art, it's just about making functional PCBs, but it's a great way to learn KiCad. Then SparkFun has a good tutorial on learning Eagle. And Eagle tutorials. Yeah, they got a bunch of them. Oh, wait. Yeah, how do I... Oh, here we go. They got like a chart of tutorials. Wow.
Yay,
And then
tutorials.
finally, yeah, if you just want to make something functional, I know the whole point of this one is art,
No
but
function. Just kidding.
only art. No, yeah. So the thing that I made here is an incredibly simple PCB and didn't need to be that accurate in terms of how things are placed. And so what I used for that is Patra, which is a new piece of software that is very beginner friendly, but can be a little difficult to use because I think they're still in their early days. But it's really easy to throw together something like this one that I designed, and you sort of like drag a little outline around it. You can make weird shaped boards. You can send them from manufacturer from here. You drag your LEDs and stuff around. It's very simple. You can still look at the top and bottom layers and stuff. And yeah, if you just want to get something done really quick and easily and have it be functional and not necessarily that pretty, that's a good option.
Nice. Cool. Thank you. That is a great compliment to what I'm going to show people in Eagle in the next
Nice.
segment here. You got anything coming up? Are you doing live streams? I mean, you're doing stuff all the time with Hackster, right? You have a very
Yeah, I'm
active...
doing live streams pretty much every day for Hackster.io. So you just go to hackster.io/videos and you can find more of that. Or you can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Hackster.io. Or, Twitter or Instagram, same thing everywhere.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the live stream today. This was
Thank you for rocking.
amazing. I feel less alone in this time of much loneliness, and yeah, this live stream has benefited greatly from your presence. Thanks for making it awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Ciao.
Good to see you too. Take care. Bye. All right, so we are not needing these headphones anymore. Sorry about the audio snafus a little bit earlier. Yeah, thank you, Alex, for coming on. That was super cool. Mostly because like I do have a pile of these things, here, but there's so many more things, and I was so impressed. I did a little video with Alex a few months ago, and was in the offices of Hackster, where there's an impressive collection of these things. I was just like, whoa, this art form has moved on, or I don't know, exploded. That's the words I use in the promotion. Since I was last checking it out. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to put this together. Glad all this tech is working, and I'm sorry for the echoes earlier. Thanks for coming, Suyash. I was gonna plug your meetup. What's the tech meetup that I'm plugging? I can't remember. But yeah, the cost for these things, we will talk about that. Companies for making small scale pet projects. Yes, Bush Park. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. I want to give you a really quick tutorial on EagleCAD, which is maybe a terrible idea. I've only taught one person how to make printed circuit boards with EagleCAD, my friend Turner Kirk, but he's gone on to make some amazing stuff and actually collaborate with me on a bunch of projects for which he's made circuitry, like the unreleased, and maybe shouldn't even show you, I'll just show you a little bit of it, MC1. You can probably see it in other videos and stuff, but anyways, I have successfully taught at least one person how to use Eagle. Much like the topic last week, it's just not something I often doing. It's just like one of 20 little, you know, side things that I do is make PCB layouts, and you know, so it's like on and off that I use this software. So I'm definitely not the expert, and as I said earlier, this is kind of like some more difficult and kind of clunky software. But let's share my desktop and hopefully avoid all the feedback infinity. I'm gonna throw my face up here too because that's nice to see. So, oh, let's get the change these ordering. I'm getting so hip with my live streams, just like improvising all these crazy layouts. Yeah, you don't need to see two of me. What you need to see is Eagle. Okay, so let's just maximize Eagle here, and we'll keep the chat going. Oh, welcome to the chat, Alex. Thanks for popping in there. Okay, Eagle tutorial is gonna be great. So EagleCAD. This is like the home screen. I'll mention like you can get this. You'll see my version. If you look up here at the top is the educational version, and I like to think I'm educating myself. It's one of the ways you can get basically a free license for Eagle, and there are some limitations to it, like the size of the board you can use, and I think you have to be logged into the internet during the time you're using it. So it's got some restrictions, but it has not limited me in any significant way with what I can do with it. Let me make sure can you guys see all this okay? I think you're just seeing my whole desktop. Sorry for all the video echo. So easy to make echo. Hopefully you're just seeing my desktop with this Eagle window and the chat over to the right. So yeah, okay. So you can get Eagle. It's made by a company called AutoCAD. You can sign up for their educational or like hobby license, I think they call it, or non-professional license, and download it. And it's very straightforward to download and install on Mac or PC. That was a huge change, as it used to be only PC-only software up until Autodesk got it some years ago. And if you were going to learn Eagle to make a functional circuit board, we would get into two different sides of it, which would be schematics and board layouts, but we're not going to do that. Schematics are the thing you need to make functional circuits, and board layouts are the physical things you need to create the physical circuit board. But since we're not doing a functional circuit for this example, we're going to just make a board. But just to give you an idea what things normally look like in Eagle, I'm going to fly open a project folder here. Seeing the secrets. Let's just open this board. And yeah, so this is what Eagle looks like. It looks all psychedelic. I think mostly because you're looking at the top and the bottom of the board at the same time. And I'm doing lots of weird things with colors. But this is basically what a typical file in Eagle for a circuit board looks like. And yeah, it doesn't look much like a regular circuit board, but it's actually easier to do the things you need to do with this black background and the colors. So yeah, I'll just show you what the aspects of it are. You can see in the camera. Let me just double check how big my camera is. Yeah, it's pretty big. So this, I want to make sure you can see this. I need to see a little mirror of myself. Sorry guys, we're doing like software share and camera share. And where's my frame? I need to get in frame. Okay, that's my frame. So you'll see, let's zoom in on where the battery is, for example. So this is where the battery is on this physical circuit board, and this is where the battery is on the board layout. And so I'll just tell you the things going on here. So like we said earlier, there's there's a sandwich of layers going on here. There's the inside of the thing, and let me just hide a bunch of layers. We're actually going to hide all the layers. Start with something a lot cleaner. Yeah. So that's everything. And the only things we're going to be dealing with today are the outline. So that's a thin line that just shows you the outline of your circuit board. We're going to deal with the 2 layers of copper. Remember, there's a layer of copper on the bottom, there's a layer of copper on the top, and that's the shiny stuff that you could solder to, but I just like it for its decorative, shiny, metallic look. So this is the top layer of copper. There's actually, I have a second separate one on this board. But anyways, this is all the copper on the top of the board, and then in this program you can see through the board to the bottom. This is the copper on the bottom. And the reason you have them on both sides, you don't really need to know this, is because like if you wanted things to cross, as you can see is happening here, for example, like this is the top layer of copper crossing the bottom layer of copper, and that's a way that 2 different circuits can cross each other. One's on the top, one's on the bottom. So that's why you have top and bottom, is that's how you can make simple circuits. You can make 1-layer boards too, where you only have circuitry on the top, and they're cheaper to manufacture. But in general, these top and bottom 2-layer boards are super common these days. So you have copper on the top, copper on the bottom. You also have a mask layer, and in general, like the mask goes everywhere unless you tell it not to. So you have like a stop layer, T-stop, and B-stop, and those are just to uncover the copper. And so you can do something like we'll do and just copy all your copper layer from the bottom to the B-stop layer, and then it stops the mask, the colored thing, in this case the blue stuff, from printing over your copper. And the other thing I want to show you, because it's really useful, is just what they call vias. So this is one piece of terminology, jargon we're going to have to throw at you. You can also make holes. Holes are great. Holes are just like holes in the circuit board. That's all there is to it. You can make them any size. But with circuit boards, you're very often making these things they call vias. And what these are is copper-plated holes that go through the board. So these green, oh, come on, oh, hide this layer window for a minute. These green circles and octagons, the inside of them, the black part represents a hole, the green part represents copper that's printed around the edge of the hole, and the green kind of indicates that it's a via, and there's also copper that goes through the hole. So that's how, for example, here the top and the bottom layers are connected at this point by a via. So anyways, vias are the kind of typical kind of hole, so that's like a thing you'll make by default is via. So there's also a silkscreen, but we're not going to get into that today. That's where you typically print text and other instructional things. Maybe I'll show that to you. Yeah, I'll throw up the silkscreen layer for educational purposes, but I just don't want to get things too complicated. My silkscreen is in my own little custom layer here. Actually, this is a terribly organized board. The T silk layer, there's so many. This is one of the things that makes Eagle hard, is you have like a million layers, and if you're just jumping in, T place is usually what's the silk screen on the top, because it tells you where to place things. So here I've added the text battery, and which side is positive, the upside, and which side is negative, the downside. And I do this little graphic of the battery with the silk screen layer, or the T place layer, as it is called by default. So anyways, those are the layers on a board that's already designed, and now we're just going to make a board from scratch. I'm going to jump in the chat real quick because I know I'm missing what's happening there. And yes, I wanted to plug Suyash's group. If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, which I know some of you are, he's got a great meetup, which I have yet to fully participate in, but I've seen the topics that happen. I know there's such a strong tech community here, and is super creative, and Suyash is doing awesome stuff. So you should definitely check that out. Yes. All right. So unless there are any questions, I will dive in and we'll make a new board. So we'll close this down, and this represents what you would be doing in Eagle. So you see this window, and all you got to do is your good old file, new, and we're going to make a board. These other things, schematics, libraries, not going to need them. For this simple example, it's great. And this is how I learned to use Eagle too. I didn't know how to use the schematic mode. Super basic. So here's a basic, so here's your empty document, and all you have is a little cross down in the lower left-hand corner. Hope you can see that. We can zoom in on it, we can zoom out. And that is called the origin, and that's just like to orient yourself. That's what origins are for. Super helpful. So what we need to do is draw the outline of our board. Before we do that, you want to know like how big things are going to be, and so I'll draw your attention to this area in the upper left corner of my workspace here, where it says 50 mil, and then it's got two numbers, and that's telling me, I believe it's telling me the grid, and it's telling me where I am in the grid. So as I move up, that second number goes up. As I move to the right, that first number goes up. So those are XY coordinates away from the origin. And those are measured in mil. And mil has got to be one of the wackiest units out there. It's basically 1/1000th of an inch, or a milli-inch. Could you say that? I think that's where it comes from. It's like milli-inch. So I don't know why we're using imperial units like inches and feet still these days, especially to make things like circuit boards. But we're going to use the thousandth of an inch. Anyway, that's the default in Eagle, and you can probably switch it to millimeters, but it's kind of a standard that people use mil. So let's make a circuit board that's 1 inch by 1 inch. That's pretty darn small. Here's a ruler in case you don't have one. I always have one at the ready. So 1 inch is about, they say, I think, from the first knuckle of your thumb to the end of your thumb, maybe, middle of your thumb. Maybe I have big thumbs. They're a little bit bigger than an inch. But anyways, if we make a 1000 mil square, then that's a 1 inch square circuit board. So all we need to do is choose which layer we're going to draw in. And I know there's like a million icons, and that might be confusing. But all we need to do is get our draw tool. There's a pencil buried among all these things. You have like cut, copy, paste, move, all this stuff. And there's a little pencil with a line underneath it, which is actually I think it's called the wire tool, but you don't need to know that. Anyways, this is the thing that when you click, you can draw lines. Great. Like, so I clicked once, and I can move around, and I click again and do that. That's great. You can also undo by pressing the undo button up here, or redo with the redo button. Undo and redo are very useful. But we are drawing on the top layer. So you can see, since I selected the draw tool, I've got all these properties of the draw tool in this first line above the line where it says where I am on the board. Make the window smaller. Oh no! Oh no! Oh geez. Yeah, you're not seeing much of this, are you? Okay, we'll shrink this down. I'm not sure why I'm not able to see more here. Apologies for that. Oh yeah, this is super low resolution. I don't know why. Alright, we're going to move this up here. I'm going to get rid of my beautiful face, or let's stick me down here. How about that? Make this smaller a little bit. Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Oh man, can't even make this window smaller. Well, I will learn OBS, spend more than an hour on it before the next live stream, I promise. At least you can see what you need to see now, and I can see what's going on too, and you can still see my smiling face. So, let's forge ahead. So, okay, you can see my cursor too. This is great. I know a little bit better what's going on here. So, when we select the draw tool, draw lines tool, it gives us a bunch of options for how to draw lines, and the first one is the grid. You don't need to use that. The important one is this one. This is what layer we're drawing on. So we got to draw something on the dimension layer. The dimension layer is the outline of the board. Sometimes it's referred to as the outline. So let's find the origin. I'm a little bit lost. Gotta scroll around here. Here's the origin, and we're going to draw on the dimension board, and we're going to draw like a funky shaped board because we can. And you can draw with these sort of 45-degree lines, or you can pick different options to draw straight lines, curvy lines, spline curves, all kinds of interesting things. So we're going to do something a little bit angular. We're going to try for like a 1-inch size. So I'm looking at the grid numbers here in the upper left. And remember, like 1,000 mil is 1 inch. Am I right about that? I don't want to screw this up. 100% right? Okay, good. I'm just going to double check for good measure. Let's say 1,000 mil 2 inches. In case you didn't know, Google will do units conversion for you. Just type it in. Yes, okay, 1,000ths of an inch. Got that. So let's undo this. Let's draw our board starting from the origin. We'll come up 500 mil here, and then we'll do this. Let's do like a kind of football shape thing. And come up to 1,000. It doesn't need to be like an inch by an inch. It can be whatever size you want, but it's nice to have a reference. And I like symmetry. So, boom. And you know, we connected our lines because it made everything outside of them gray. That's pretty convenient. So now let's draw some stuff in there. Let's draw some stuff with copper on the top. I'm going to change the width of my line to something like 20 mil. And actually, let's go up to like 30 mil. And I'm going to press escape. Escape is to stop drawing from where you last drew from. And let's do something less angular. Let's do something curvy. I don't know. Let's do like a Moldova logo. That's kind of like a Moldova symbol. I try to call it a symbol and not a logo. So there's all these other tools. There's like a move tool over here. You can click on a thing and move it. There's a copy tool. So you can click on a thing and copy it. There's a rotate tool. Click on it. Just kidding. Can't rotate that thing. I don't know why. There's a mirror tool to mirror things. It really won't let me mirror that, will it? Well, I know. This is where you're like, why, Eagle? Why do you make it hard for everyone? I know I can copy something, and in the midst of copying, if I right-click, I can rotate it. Don't ask me how I figured that out, but I did. These are the kind of things you'll maybe have to just learn trial by fire style. So anyways, I copied and rotated that with the copy tool, which looks like these two pieces of paper. And we'll go back to the line tool. And I don't want to draw with curves anymore. I want that diagonal thing. Do that. And you can see it it gave me a little S and a $sign and a 2, and you don't even need to worry about that. It's telling you useful things about where your circuits are. We're just going to do, it's kind of a lo-fi Moldova symbol. So this is copper on the top of the board, but, and I want this to kind of come through, and by default, like, the copper won't be exposed. It'll be covered by the solder mask. So what we need to do is copy these things to another layer, the stop layer. And we could draw them again, of course, but the easier way is just to copy them. And to copy a group of things, you have to define a group. So there's this group button, and you can either draw marquees like that, or you can draw a bunch of points around the thing, and then you right click to end it, and then you have a group. So we're going to copy the group. Switch to the copy tool. Oh, hey, just kidding. This is one of the weird things about Eagle, is you got to right click if you want to do anything with a group. Don't ask me why. Copy group. You're going to bang your head against the wall the first time you use the Eagle, like so many of us do. So now we got a copy of it, but it's on the same layer. So I want to move it to a different layer, and there's a few different ways to do that. But I'm going to show you a really fun way, which is to use the info tool. So this little eye icon gives you info about something you click on. So I've got the eye tool, and I click on this, and it gives me all the properties of this thing. And there's a lot, but all I'm looking for is what layer it's on. So look, here's the layer. It's on the top. I can move it to the bottom. I can't move it to the stop layer. That's super lame. Yet another lameness of Eagle. So maybe this will work. Sorry guys. There's the change tool, this little wrench. If you click on the wrench, we can change the layer. Oh good, now we can pick any layer we want. Don't ask me why. We want T-stop, because that's where the top layer mask is stopped. This is a layer that's going to stop the colored mask, traditionally green, from printing. So we've to review that again, We got the change tool, which lets you change a property of a thing, and we're going to change the layer property, and we're going to change the layer to the t-stop layer. Okay, now we can click on this, and it doesn't work. That is super lame. I don't understand why that doesn't work. Why can't I use the change tool? Hey, Eagle Pros in the chat. Why did it not work? Okay, well, for the sake of the tutorial, I'm so sorry, guys. Kind of showing my amateurness, but we're just gonna draw the same thing again in the t-stop layer. So I'm back on the draw tool. I'm drawing on the t-stop layer this time, and boom, just gonna draw on top of what I drew before. So sorry for the jankiness, but I promise you it'd be a 15-20 minute tutorial. So in the interest of time, I'm doing it this way, and I'll figure it out a little bit later, and I'll post what I learn in the chat or somewhere else useful. But yeah, you may have to do this. It's like figure out the janky way before you figure out the slick way. And you may have noticed I was trying to delete these copies I made, and it's saying like it's not about a rat's nest. You don't need to worry about that. It's worried about you deleting parts of your circuit. But you do need to use the rat's nest tool because it doesn't want you to delete a part of the circuit you don't want to use. So there's a rat's nest tool here, and when you do that, it informs you of error wires, which again you don't need to know. But yeah, maybe you're learning why you don't want to learn Eagle and you want to learn KiCad or something easier. But anyways, we have successfully done what we wanted to do and created a circuit board with this symbol on it. It'd be a lot cooler if we could put some holes in this and maybe it'll turn into a necklace or something like that. So I'm going to grab the Via tool. I have to like extend the toolbar because there's so many tools over here. I can't show them all at once. This is the Via tool. It just plops Vias down, and we're going to make it a big one. So we're going to increase the drill size. See what the biggest one they have by default. That's not very big. You can make even bigger ones. Just type in your numbers. 80 mil. Let's go nuts. I don't even know if we'll do this, but 120 mil. No, that's too big. 80 mil. Yeah, maybe we'll split the difference and do 90. So yeah, we'll put a little hole here. Sorry, via. It's not a hole. It's a via. Put a hole there. We could make it symmetrical and do more holes, but I don't think we will. I think that would make a great necklace. Yeah. Anything else we should add? I don't think so. I think we're going to keep this live stream relatively short and sweet. We're already a few minutes over. So yeah. One cool thing about Eagle is because it's so standard, if you go someplace like Osh Park, which we're going to do now, let's go to oshpark.com. You can just throw a Eagle board file in there and just upload the Eagle file. So let's save this back in Eagle. We're going to say File, Save As, and we'll just throw this on the desktop and call it My First Circuit Board. And then we can go back over to our web browser and browse for that file, My First Circuit Board. And we're uploading it to Osh Park. Hope you can see most of this browser window. Yeah, looking pretty good. And there you go. You get a little preview of it over here on the right. It's showing you the top side. And this is good because I can see this is copper. It's going to be the exposed copper. I know because it's the same color as the vias. The vias are always exposed copper. So this is kind of a good verification that our stop mask, the T-stop layer, worked correctly and uncovered the copper for my custom drawing. And this is showing you the bottom of the board, which didn't have any graphics on it, but you can see the vias poking through. So top and bottom, description, email. They'll give you warnings about like we didn't find a silkscreen file. Silkscreen is that white layer, which you usually put like text and kind of assistance indication stuff. We don't have that, so it's just telling us like, hey, are you sure you don't want a silkscreen layer? And Oshpark will spin up 3 of these boards for $5.05. See, great deal, and they get it to you pretty fast. And they can do all kinds of other boards, different thicknesses, more than 2 layers, all kinds of stuff. So they're super cool for doing boards in smaller quantities. I've also been using a what are they called? I can't remember. JLC PCB. Yeah, JLC PCB is the one I've been using more recently. They're also very inexpensive. They're over in China. Oshpark's in Portland, so your results may vary depending on where you are. So yeah, I mean that's it. Like there's a lot more to it, right? Like you can use all kinds of other tools to make fancier designs, like all that we've shown you, and of course you can learn to make functional designs as well as these decorative designs. But I just wanted to show you like how quick it can be to spin something up, and even if it's not functional, it's pretty cool to have something printed in copper, and you can make these interesting outlines. You can see there's the shape of the cassette I drew into the dimension layer of the board. And I put these holes there where you would have holes in the cassette. So all that is really just using those kind of drawing tools and using Eagle like a vector drawing program, basically like Adobe Illustrator, or these days I use Affinity Designer. So it's very much like working with those, at least for doing this kind of decorative stuff. And yeah, that's simple as I wanted to keep it. I mean, and that's how it was presented to me. Is my mentor was like, he actually put together the functional part of the circuit. It was like, okay, you can move these little things anywhere, but you got to have these 2 holes for your resistor and this whatever, and they got to be connected. He did that, and then I just moved them around, and I drew all this insane stuff on the back, and I drew all this crazy maze on the front, and as I said, shifted these things around to be in the right places, and like ordered prototypes, and it's kind of a different world back then. Couldn't get a prototype PCB for less than $100, but yeah, $5 for your mold over symbol pendant these days. So that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. Any more questions? This would be a good time. I know there's a little bit of lag between when I say stuff and when you get it there. Do I ever do anything with S1 in Portland? I don't think so. Is S1 a hackerspace? I'm trying to think if I've been to any hackerspaces in Portland. I'm not sure that I have. But I am hoping to do a hackerspace tour when this lockdown thing eases up, most likely in the fall. That is the plan, because I have some fun new music releases and releases of other things, and touring is one of my favorite ways to promote those. And I've always included hackerspaces in recent years on my tours, but never like featured them as like the thing that I do. So I'm very interested to do that. So if S1 is a hackerspace, I'm totally there. To answer your question, kind of. Any other questions? I want to just tell you once again about my soldering workshop, because it's the thing we got to plan for. But if you'd like to learn how to solder and put together the components, learn how to attach these little things to PCBs, which is a super fun skill, because then you can order all these kits where you can, make your own anything, make your own Game Boy, make your own desktop clock with tube filament displays and interesting things, and and you can fix stuff too. I'm the person my friends go to. There's one right here. So, I go to visit my buddy who's got a retail store just before the lockdown. He's got this crazy scanner thing that's got like busted button, and it's like a $500 piece of equipment that you can't use because it's got one little busted button. And that's the kind of thing you can fix if you learn how to solder. You can make cables, you can fix cables, you can troubleshoot stuff, and it's kind of like a really handy skill in a lot of situations, automotive, and household, soldering, all those things. It's useful. Yeah, so it'll be a Light Theremin soldering workshop on April 23rd. Limited to 10 tickets, so I only have 10 kits left. So I hope you can check that out. The Thanks for checking out my live stream. I'll be doing more live streams for the whole month of April. I don't know about y'all in different cities, but in San Francisco, we are staying home until May 3rd, I believe it is. So yes, I'm committed to edutainment, as I said, um, and this unique experience to present a bunch of stuff that I often don't get to present in the in-person events that I love to do. Can I do a workshop on how to make a simple PCB musical instrument? Love to learn. I don't think I could teach you how to design a musical instrument PCB. That would be a pretty deep workshop. But, while we're plugging stuff, you can hire me for private teaching, consulting. It's a big part of my livelihood, and more of it's happening online than ever before due to the current situation. And yeah, and if you're interested in the light theremin soldering workshop, I'll throw that up there. Thank you, Damien, for the prompt. You read my mind, my friend. Light theremin soldering workshop. Boom. So yeah, if you have ideas for other live streams, I'm I'm thinking of just going through my whole jack of all trades things and doing tutorials and the things I don't usually do, like doing a lot of color grading in Final Cut Pro. If you're interested in that, I'll probably keep it more music oriented though. But maybe I'll talk about Arduino. Maybe I'll talk about Ableton Live or Cubase or Isotope RX or any of the other million other softwares that I use. So yeah, if you have ideas about that, I'll be hanging on the chat for another few minutes. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Sorry for going late, and hope to see you soon.